Okay, this is the reaction for a game that's still going on, but we have got a train to make. So we're starting a bit early. There are 10 minutes to go here at Bloomfield Road. Everton are winning 4-2. The game is sure to slow down. All the kids are on. And I've got Mark Mosey sitting next to me. Mose, main takeaways from today. I imagine for you it's going to be about it's just started absolutely battering down as well. You probably hear people saying, oh no. There are a lot of seagulls around, first and foremost, aren't there?
I can't believe we let Blackpool get a fourth.
Don't say that. Don't say that.
With 8 minutes to go, we all kind of saw it coming. But in terms of actual takeaways, as you say, it's very difficult to gauge these sorts of performances. And I don't know. I think the collective feeling here is that the squad lacks depth. You mentioned about the kids coming on, which is great in pre-season, and that's essentially what these games are here for. But it only takes a pre-game injury to Dominic Calvert-Lewin and one to Damari Gray that makes this squad look incredibly thin on the ground, doesn't it? I mean, we've joked endlessly since the end of last season about what this squad is and what this season holds for Everton, but albeit what we hope now with 7 minutes left is a positive result, it's really hard to see where we've been actually progressive over the summer. Still a lot of work to do by Frank Lampard, still a lot of work to do for Kevin Felwell and all of the recruitment stuff in the background, but is it good to be back? It's kind of good to be back. We all want to come out and see Everton play and hopefully see Everton win games, as we are hopefully today. But yeah, still a lot of work to do with 2 weeks of pre-season left before
2 weeks.
We play one of the Premier League's supposed title contenders. A lot of ground to cover still.
Yeah, there's plenty to unpick from today. Obviously, Dele Alli's got on the score sheet twice. James Tarkowski's just funded into a tackle, I think, which everybody seemed to quite enjoy. But I wanted to sort of start off by speaking about the two wing backs today and the way in which they played, because I think one thing that maybe gives me hope going forward is that, obviously Marcel Brands went in December, but it feels like we got two players off his resume in the January window, in Mykolenko and Patterson. I think obviously both of them have had time to try and settle in and about where to do. Dele Alli's just going off here. Listen to the reception for him. He scored 2 goals today. I think it's Lewis Dobbin who's come on, but the wing backs, Patterson setting up 2 goals, Mykolenko scoring 1. I think we sat here now, we both sort of probably agree that this 3 centre-backs, wing-backs is going to be the way we're going to go about it this season for both attacking and defensive reasons. But I think it's encouraging that both of them have got goal contributions today. And I think Patterson in particular, obviously we've seen a bit more of Mykolenko, but he had a bit of a rough game against Minnesota in midweek, but he's looked a lot more on it again today.
Yeah, I think the thing I'd massively agree with you there is that this looks like the formation that Everton are going to go with going forward. A lot of me thinks that's more through.
We've got a lot of centre halves.
Yeah, it's very much through circumstance and design. Definitely, the strength in terms of numbers in this squad at the moment is at centre half. Whether it's Holgate, Godfrey, Tarkowski, Mina, any one of these names, Michael Keane. That is the area of the pitch that we can at least field quite a few Premier League footballers. That puts an enormous emphasis, as you say, on the wing backs. It's all well and good playing against Chelsea on the first game of the season, and it's obviously going to be a bit of a flatter 5 in that game. But when you are trying to force the issue against lesser sides like we are today, you need your fullbacks to be right on it. And I think Patterson's had obviously a very broken start to his Everton career. His injury last year impacted that massively, but this pre-season also, I think everyone kind of just expected him to slot back in at right back and kick on and be the first choice, and it's debatably unfair to expect him to do that. But today at least we've seen him getting forward and being willing to do that and get balls into the box, and for Mykolenko to be on the other end of one of those crosses was pretty poetic at the time.
Blackpool just missed the sitter there, by the way.
The other thing I think that contributes to that formation choice is the sheer lack of quality in the middle of the park. You know, that's obviously something that all of those people that we mentioned earlier are looking to fix in the last couple of weeks before the season starts. But you know, Decore, Davis, you know, who we got on now, Iwobi, Lewis, Warrington coming into the squad. They're all names that we hope can kick on in this season coming forward, but nothing about this season strikes me as somewhere that Everton are going to progressively kick on as time goes on. I mean, we need to be right at it from the start, because we're talking about a team here that is fragile enough to look like relegation contenders if they do not start quickly. You know, that might be me catastrophising at this point, but
it could have gone worse today, though, couldn't it?
Absolutely.
We sort of went into the ground thinking, as much as we never really thought this before about a pre-season friendly, if this doesn't go well today, then there is potential for it to get ugly after the protest yesterday and after the result on Thursday.
I'm the first one to say these games do not matter in the slightest. I would double up on that by saying that getting your arse handed to you by Minnesota United is not the worst thing that could happen for Everton at the moment, because it gives everyone a rocket up the backside. And, you know, we heard it verbally from Frank Lampard. I'm sure that Kevin Felwell would echo all of the worries that Lampard heard after that game. It doesn't hurt to get that check of realism going into the last couple of weeks of pre-season, but today's been a good opportunity to get a win, get on the score sheet, get some time into the legs of numerous players that we've seen, but there's still holes for me. You know, I've seen Everton underperform in pre-seasons before, and I've not necessarily had the level of worry that I do about this current squad. And I get that that's on the back of a very near relegation for Everton last season, but there is still, for me, a lot of work to do with this squad if we're going to be in any way competitive. And you know, it's very difficult not to look around at the moment at other sides, and I'm talking about other, in inverted commas, lesser sides in this league, like Leicester and Southampton and Crystal Palace and Brighton. You know, I see them signing players and winning games in pre-season, and as much as you try and block all of that out of your mind at the moment, it's important that we've got something to build on. And you know, these games aren't important, but in many ways maybe today was, in coming and getting a few goals and putting a good result on the board.
I suppose that the thing about, like, say about Brighton and all those sort of sides, if you saw this Everton highlights on Sky and Sport 2, you'd be going, bloody hell, they look good going forward there in training. I suppose there's context, but the lad who's got 2 goals today, he's, like I say, he's just gone off now at Dele Alli, no hat-trick today. Scored the first one just at the half-time. Poacher's finish, second one, very much the same sort of vein, getting down to get a low header in. I'm not entirely sure if it's going to go down as his or not, because it maybe took like a bit of a deflection, but it might have been on target. But it's one of them, we were sort of saying in the first half that he's not really a player that's ever going to be in the game, and as much as against Crystal Palace, he was someone who got on the ball and calmed us down and got us going forward. But I think if we're going to see the best of Dele Alli, it's going to be in those positions where he's getting on the end of things in the box. He can be a bit more lively than the defender who's marking him. He can be that extra step quicker and be have that bit of technical ability where Brighton was about to score there, but the Brighton rather Blackpool, wrong seaside town there. But good signs for him today, I think. Certainly second half when he went and played up front, just dropping off into that little space where he could get the ball in that little sort of gap where the centre half's not nervous to go and get him, or the midfielders know to drop and get him. Little body swerves, nice little touches, nice little flicks, and got those 2 goals. And I suppose after missing an absolute sitter on Wednesday, just probably nice for him to hit the back of the net after what has been a long time for him.
Yeah, I think he's a player who, frustratingly, I think we all need to be content with him going missing for large spells of the game. For me, if as the fan also goes, if Dele Alli is going missing during games, then that means that we've got him into a position where he can be that kind of free attacking midfielder.
Kids all over the place here, running on.
The now renowned Everton child hits invasion goes on. But yeah, Dele Alli is. If there was one player that I could say now, if he does well this season, then Everton probably do well, then it's absolutely him. If we are able to get the best out of Dele Alli, then that will mean that we've built a solid core, enable him to be that free attacking midfielder. Whether we're capable of doing that, and we've got that foundation behind Ali to allow him to do that, I'm not sure, but at least we've seen something from him today. We've seen an attacking flair from him, an ability to get into the box and score goals. And ultimately, if he's able to walk away from this season coming with 15 goals, then that's an enormous return for an Everton attacking midfielder.
Vasily Mikalenkovic is coming over. Great reception for him. There are a lot of kids running on the pitch now. Frank Lampard's about to come over. There's a kid who wants to selfie with him, I think. There's a lot of kids running on now.
Can't believe you invaded the pitch when you only beat Blackpool.
I mean, there's a few grown men running on as well. Oh, yeah. Somebody's just on a knee slide in the middle of the pitch. It's very classic Everton pre-season. Yeah. We'll continue this somewhere quieter in a bit. It's all going off here. We need to get our train first and foremost. So yeah, we'll be back with it again shortly in a quieter surroundings. I mean, there's people carrying kids off. It's all going on. We'll be back with you shortly here on the Blue Room. Okay, we're outside the ground now. Calm down a little bit. Very warm and muggy and horrible. We can see Blackpool Tower more.
I thought you were just describing Blackpool as
what a glory, what a glory. Hey, we had a nice time here today. I don't know. What a glorious. Are there any other players you want to mention before we wrap up and run for our train?
I think the summary of Everton at the moment is that you'll come away from watching them once and not to talk about the players you did see, but the gaps in which you didn't see players. I think we all spoke coming towards the game about the glaring opportunities, I'll call them, for Frank Lampard and Kevin Farwell to improve this squad. And again, you only have to look at the players who were, albeit at a late stage, omitted from the squad today to think there's major flaws in this side in terms of squad depth and being able to fill in for people like Dominic Calvert-Lewin and Damari Gray. And
yeah, as much as Ali was good second half,
yeah,
you don't want to be going into the season with Salomon Rondon as your centre forward, do you?
This lovable rogue who we all seem to politely clap when he scores a goal in a Carabao Cup game every other week. There's absolutely no way, on a serious note, that he should be anywhere near the squad. He was bought in as an emergency panic buy by a manager who should never have been here, and for all intents and purposes he should not be here anymore. It's through the lack of that depth and that ability to go out and sign, whoever it may be, as a starting striker or a backup to Calvert-Lewin. However Frank Lampard views this squad being built, there's no way that he should be here. And do you know what? You could probably point that finger at a number of players. It's hard. I want to see the squad that we have in 2 weeks' time, because from a very optimistic mental point of view, I hope that it's a lot stronger than what we've seen today, albeit on the back of a positive result. But there's still a massive part of me that thinks that if the Everton squad that has arrived here at Bloomfield Road arrives at Goodison Park to play against one of Europe's elite, then it will set a dangerous precedent for the rest of the season. And there's nothing in me, this team can fight and it can allow the fans to do fantastic things for it in terms of being that driving force to keep them in the league or get a one-off result or whatever it may be. But at some point this squad has to become better and the players have to become better, and I think if if Everton are to avoid a very turbulent season and a very angry fan base, then things need to happen very, very quickly.
The one signing they have made is Tarkowski, who I think has been one of our, even in the games in the States when things were bad, he was one of the standout players today. Just interested to watch him today, really. Just didn't really, very much a no frills player, but I wouldn't say he's a no nonsense centre half in that sense. He just seems to do the basic things very, very well in regards to tackling, passing, positioning. A couple of really good long diagonal passes, sort of reminded me of Jag Yelko when he used to get them out of his feet and ping them out to the wings. And I mean, listen, if he's half the player that Jags was, then we're going to have a really good centre half. But he's looked like a really good, positive player to be bringing in. And on the left side of that back three today, where I sort of thought that Godfrey was going to be playing, you could sort of see why he was played there. Just looked very, very comfortable, didn't he?
Yeah, I think the thing that Frank Lampard spoke about in the week was the fact that him and Kevin Felwell and all of the recruitment staff look at the dressing room presence and the kind of personal character of a footballer as opposed to solely their footballing ability. On the back of that, I don't see a way in which James Tarkowski doesn't wear Everton's armband week in, week out in the next 6 months. I mean, he is already that big of a character. For me, objectively looking at that team, he is the, I hesitate to use the word leader because we haven't essentially needed a leader at this point because it's obviously pre-season, but if I was to put my neck on the line and say there's one man who's going to drive this team to a result against Chelsea or to a positive start in the season,
I mean, like 10
he is
blocks
probably
or
the
something
one.
like that,
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. And he looks like the bigger brother to all of the other defenders and the rest of the squad. And he's obviously playing at half pace at the moment, but we've already seen him put a couple of good blocks in, a couple of really tough challenges, and you just think, well, that's him holding back. I'm not putting the lad on a pedestal here, but he very much looks like someone who is ready to be a man in this team of boys. And I think that's been one of the major problems at Everton in recent years. And we've got a lot of promising up and coming, good young technical footballers, but in order to grind results out and in order to win games and drag yourself up a league and ultimately get a very good positive Premier League position, you need grown up men to play the game. And that's not me being downplaying the technical ability of some of these younger lads, but you do need someone who's capable of putting that grit and that fight in. And earlier in the game we pointed at someone like Yerry Mina, who is obviously very capable of doing that, and we all love it when he winds opposition forwards up and he's that commanding force at the back. But how often are we going to see that? 15 games a season. I think it was essential that we brought someone in who's capable of doing that alongside Mina or in place of Yerry Mina when he's not there, whatever the scope of James Tarkowski is meant to be.
Saying it, I'm sure, this season.
Definitely. But whatever the feeling is towards how they are both incorporated into this 11, and I think we've seen a glimpse of that today, obviously with the three at the back. I said in the ground about having the depth in that particular area. I still think that the reason we are playing 3 or 5 at the back is because all of our midfielders are dispensable. I would say at this point.
There's question marks over all of them, isn't it? We haven't got a natural holder either to play as like the deep player in a 4-3-3.
I think that the one midfielder that we all mentally think will always play every game possible is Abdoulaye Doucouré, of course. But there were times last year where we were struggling to think of what type of midfielder he was. We were struggling to get any form of real form out of him. Alan is another one who you look at and think, well, on paper he should probably play every game, but
not as the 6.
Exactly, the prospect of going into that first league game playing Doucouré and Alan both together as a 2 in midfield terrifies me, and that's not necessarily because of Chelsea's strengths and their capabilities in the middle of the park, but just because they are. We've seen them driven through too many times now. Whether it's Chelsea or Minnesota, that is a relatively weak pivot of your system. So yeah, it is very much going to be 3 at the back. It is going to be Tarkowski, and I think a lot of faith already, both on and off the pitch, has probably been afforded to him. But yeah, still still major areas in the spine of the team that need reinforcing, and central midfield is absolutely the priority for me.
It seems like Tarkowski, Mina, Godfrey's going to be the preferred three, doesn't it? When they're all fit, based on the way in which they lined up today and the way in which they played today for 45 minutes, it just felt like that's probably what he's going to go with, even though obviously Holgate played a lot of games towards the end of last season.
Yeah, I think so. And the
or
problem...
do you need someone a bit more reliable to play in the middle of that three? Or I suppose we haven't seen enough of him yet, but can you ask just Tarkowski to go and play there and say just shuffle across a little bit?
I think any one of those three could play as that central defender, as in of the three.
Central defender.
Exactly, yeah. But the problem with I think you're totally right in terms of the best three. The problem with playing the best three is that it's not necessarily going to be the most consistent three. It would take a very brave man in Frank Lampard to say, well, Yerry Mina's not going to be able to afford us 25 games a season, so let's drop him down a level and promote someone like Michael Keane or Mason Holgate. And I don't necessarily think that that's going to happen. We need to play the three that we've seen today as often as possible. That leads to frustration, unfortunately, because we've seen it with Yerry Mina time and time again, haven't we? I mean, I think most Evertonians will pay good money to see Yerry Mina play 5 consecutive games at the start of the season.
I was going 30.
Before you even see season totals, if we got to September without that lad having some form of physical issue, I think it would be massive progress. But that's where the James Tarkowski signing really starts to make sense, because it can't be the problem with Everton for so long has been that the starting 11 has been capable at worst, efficient at best, but when you take one of those important cogs out, it all falls apart very quickly. I'm not micro-analysing a pre-season game here, but James Tarkowski came off at half-time, and within 6 minutes we conceded a goal from a set-piece that we're all instantly looking at each other thinking,
Mina and Godfrey
excuse me, that was Mina. But you take someone out essential like that and think, well, Mina probably would have been the one attacking the ball. And I think the cliff from starting 11 to the rest of the squad is far too big. And that's where the squad depth argument comes back in. Going way deeper into the permutations of the transfer market for Everton is that, from a financial point of view, we are now looking at being able to recruit two or three players at absolute best. If we're able to get that in with the time that we've got left before the start of the season. I mean, this idea of bulking out the squad with quality players is now, due to time and finances, one that we're looking at bringing 1 or 2 players in to try and give everyone a little bit of a boost. I mean, we're all walking away relatively content with the nature of the side today, purely because of the positive results, but it did feel after Minnesota that we were only one pre-season disappointment or defeat away from everyone turning a little bit more hostile. That's the emotional nature of Everton ultimately, but there has to be some form of plan for the next fortnight. And I said to you before the game, Matt, in terms of pre-season results and what they mean, I don't mind seeing Everton get their arse handed to them by Minnesota United, because that means that everyone gets a firework up the backside in order to improve this squad. I'm not saying I want to see Everton get beat at any particular time of the season, but it's important that everyone knows the situation that we're in. And it's difficult, because I think even as fans now, having watched a side who struggled so much last season, we don't really know what sort of squad or what sort of expectation we have. I could bump into someone at the game today who thinks that Everton will finish 9th or 10th next season, and I'll bump into someone who thinks that we'll be lucky to stay up and thinks that 9-2 is good value for relegation. I mean, we will only
have to go down.
Yeah, we will only find out the answers to these questions in the coming weeks. But I think there's so much for for Frank Lampard and Kevin Philwell to go back and look at in terms of improving the squad.
Yeah, we'll leave it there because we've got Carlisle in the front of us. We've got a 10-bin bowling alley to the left of us. We are very much spoiled for choice in regards to what we're going to do now. I'm not sure we're going to make this train or not. So
never have I seen so many seagulls at an association football match.
Ridiculous. Up the goals. Absolutely smashed it. Those lads today. So, yeah, we'll leave it there. That's your Mr. Match reaction for Brighton. I keep saying Brighton. What's wrong with me?
Do you know where we are in the
We're
nation?
in Blackpool 2, Everton 4. There we go. Yeah, good goals from Dele Alli. Nice to see Mikalenko and Parson play well. Some positives to take from it, but like Mo said, I think there's still a lot of work to do. Hope you enjoyed the sounds of Blackpool on this walk back to the train station and to Brighton, and the sounds on the ground as well. We'll be back in the week. We'll be doing the instant reaction from Kiev game on Friday as well. Hope you had a great weekend. Up the Toffees. We'll speak to you again very soon.
Right